Usually a lot of growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like, yeah, there's a lot to being, self-determining, the great American spirit, but in the end, there's a lot of people that help you along the way. And I think investing is a whole lot more fun as a team sport than solo. And I got really tight. I tried to do everything myself. I got some help, then I would retreat back under my rock, and I got to do everything myself. And now I just have more support, I have more help, I have more strategic alliances, and I'm having way more fun and actually making more money. And it's really great when you bring in people that complement you, right? So I may not be good in this area, I'm great in this area. I'd rather have half of something than all of nothing, so it's really important. So Gordon, I think, Gordon, when did I meet you? We were at Bill Tan's thing in Arcadia one time, I think? Or
yeah, when you were down in L.A.
In L.A. somewhere? Was that 2010 or 11 or?
It's been, I was thinking you and Mike, about 10 years that I've known you guys. 10 years.
10 years, okay.
A long time.
So Gordon has done a lot of different things, and I'm not sure what he's going to want to focus on today. He could talk to any number of things, but there was a lot of years where Gordon was very supportive and influential, and I want to thank you for that, Gordon. And I really look forward to, so let's give a big round of applause to Gordon Moss.
All right. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate you inviting me to this event. I feel humbled and honored. Thank you again. And once again, it's about the people. Mike, I've known Mike for about 10 years and Don for about 10 years. And that's a long time. And this is amazing. I mean, it reminds me, Jack Miller. Did anybody know Jack Miller? One, Tom Henderson. So Jack lived in two places, Reno and Incline. Actually, no, I'm not even sure. Incline Village is not Reno. That's right here, isn't it? Yeah. He lived here and Tampa for a reason. The taxes were best here, and also that lake is unbelievable. I mean, stunning. So it was there in Tampa, but I was a disciple of Jack Miller for about 20 years. And he would have an event. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. He would have an event about every quarter, and I would fly here, I'd fly to Tampa, I'd fly to Vegas, wherever it was. And I got to meet guys like Tom and other guys in the back of the room, and they became my best friends, and they're still my best friends. And the best part of this business is having people like Don and Mike, Tom, others who you can bounce ideas off of. And you were a Jack Miller person, were you not? Just sat down. We used to go to your house afterwards.
I used to host about 200 of you.
At dinner.
I like my house.
You
guys come and speak in Reno? I'll do it again.
Yes. You owned a restaurant, didn't you, here in Reno?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my previous life.
How good was Jack Miller?
Now I'm freedom. He was awesome.
He was unbelievable.
Had a brain like a click of a mouse.
Yeah.
He would never say, let me think about it.
No.
Anything you ask, answer just.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know Jack that well. I mean, if I was in a room, he wouldn't pick me out and say, hey, Gordon, how you doing? Didn't know him at that level. But I'll tell you, I always felt like I knew he was there. That if I always had some kind of big deal and said, this sounds crazy, it probably is crazy, let me call Jack. And I rarely did. But, he gave me simple advice, too, about life and everything. He'd said, get an old Mercedes and just drive it till the wheels fall off. It's worth $1,000, but it's still a good car, da-da-da. About life, Jack was amazing. So Jack's been gone 10 years. He passed away. It's a sad thing. And there's other people out there, too, my mentors that are getting old. Jimmy Napier. Anybody know Jimmy Napier? Yeah. He's not teaching anymore. And then the other ones, like Pete Fortunato and John Schaub, they're getting old. And they're kind of... So I said, I got asked to teach a class in Las Vegas next week by the Paper Source. Anybody been to the Paper Source? Yeah. Okay, you guys know the Paper Source? Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay. I said, no. I said, I'm not really interested. She said, well, we'll do all the work. We'll do all the people. And I said, no. So here I am. Next week, I'm doing it. Yeah. 2 day.
Who else is going? I'm going.
Yeah, Don's coming, which is great.
Is there still room?
There's still room. Yeah, we got 53 people, which shocked me. Yeah, 53 people are coming. I called it very unhumbly. I said, mastery of real estate and note investing. And not to say that I'm a master, but I kind of made my goal that once Jack passed away, I was going to honor him and teach and stand up here and talk, because as you guys know, this field is littered with idiots. It's littered with crooks. It's terrible. They all live in my town too, by the way. I live in San Diego, and they're in Rancho Santa Fe behind me, about Robert Allen, Kiyosaki, all of them. They're all back there in these mansions, and they've all gone bankrupt 4 times, and they don't do the business, but they can teach it, and they're great marketers. And not to be totally negative, but and they have good books too. Kiyosaki's book is awesome. His board game is awesome. Robert Allen's books, Nothing Down, those things were freaking awesome. So it is what it is. But so that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm speaking. That's why I'm talking. Okay. This is a note class. And yes, I'm a non-performing junior lien guy. I wrote a book on it. I was inspired by Mike Rusicka. Is Mike in the room? Yep. I'll tell that story. But what I've tried to do is frame this thing and make it simple and make it make sense and make it understandable. The goal not being to be Donald Trump or the biggest investor, but to be the best communicator. As great as Jack was, if you were in the front row of a Jack seminar right now, I'd be spitting on you. He just did. Is that true? Yeah. And people would say, Jack, what page are you on? He says, no page. So I'm just talking. He says, there's 2 seminars, me talking and the book. Read the book later. Exactly. Jack would go all night. Jack loved people. I don't really even. Yeah. So I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I'm not Jack. But I said, what can I do better? I said, I can make it more cohesive, make it understandable, and frame it. And I think if there's one goal that I have, it's to frame things. And let me go ahead and try. So I named one of my themes, I call it the 2020 vision. Now, in about how many months is it going to be 2020? Pretty quick, yeah. So in 2010, almost 10 years ago, I built a poster. And it's got the Statue of Liberty kind of looking off into the future. And I said, the 2020 vision, act now, prosper tomorrow. What was the stock market like in 2010? Was it high or was it low? It was 6,000. It's 26,000 now. Yeah. Properties in Vegas, where I bought properties, are about 100,000. They're about 300,000 now. So you think, if cycles go like this, the book of Genesis says 7 years of good followed by 7 years of bad. So where are we now? Yeah. So where should we be going then? Do you guys believe that? Yeah. I'm not sure if I do. I'm not saying we're going to go like this the whole time, but the smart people that I've talked to, I said, okay, if I'm going to build a 2020 vision, a plan for the next 10 years, 2020 to 2030, let's look around a little bit. Let's say, what's the footwork now? Things were down in 2010 when I first built the poster, the first 2020 vision. The next 2020 vision is the next 10 years. 10 years, okay? So I picked 3 things that I said, let's break this down into geopolitics, demographics, and what I call maganomics, okay? And look at the next 10 years, in my humble opinion. Not that humble. And there's 2 guys. Does anybody know Bruce Norris? Okay. What do you know about Bruce Norris?
He's a data guy.
He's a data guy. If you go to his event, there's about this much charts. I mean, the guy, I don't think he got out of high school, but he is a PhD now in studying markets. And he nailed the market 3 different times. The market was high, he says it's going down. It did. The market was down, it was going up. Everyone disagreed, he was right again. So guess what Bruce, who is my guru on that, thinks? The market's going right now. What do you think? He says we're going into a slide. I didn't say that, Bruce did. Anybody know Dave Steck? What do you know about Dave Steck? data guy, London School of Economics, he'll tell you that. Guess what he thinks? Going into a slide. Next 3 or 4 years, we're going into a slide. Is this big precipice coming? No, because if it was, or if I thought it was, my attitude, my 2020 vision might be different. But they think, my gurus think, no, 3 or 4 years, okay? So, when my brother calls me, here's a personal story, 2 months ago, and says, hey, tell me that story, Gordon, tell me that story. I'm gonna buy a house, a $300,000 house in Las Vegas. Do I say, hey, dude, you know, the market's at the peak. I don't know if I would do that. I say no. I say buy it. Buy that $300,000 house that I bought the one across the street for $100,000 10 years ago, but buy it. You know why I say buy it? Because once again, I'm not convinced we're off a cliff, 1. And 2, there's an aberration in the marketplace that most people don't appreciate. Interest rates. Where are interest rates right now? Will they allow a house to do its job? First of all, what is a house's job? To pay for itself. To pay for itself. A house has a job. You buy a house, it has a job to pay for itself. At these low interest rates, it can do its job. So I said, buy that $300,000 house. And he did. So let me talk about the 3 pieces of this once again. I'm going to get into the junior lien deal, but I kind of wanted to just lay a foundation here. The geopolitics of it. Geography-wise, the U.S. is positioned in the world better than anybody. We have the most navigable waterways. Excuse me, too. The last 36 hours, I've done a lot of things, but sleeping hasn't been one of them. Yeah. So if I lose it, or if I just lose my train of thought, or I can't speak, that's the deal. I know my name is Gordon. That's about all I got figured out for sure. All right. So geopolitics. I'll make this brief. We don't have any natural enemies. We have 2 moats on each side of us. Canada, Mexico does not attack us. This is the best piece of real estate in the country. Politically, we have the least worst political system in the world. And people flow to us. It's still safe, believe it or not. You know, $22 billion in debt, we're the least worst. And the whole political thing, I know it's ugly, but guess what? It still attracts everything. I don't see us falling off a cliff, okay? And then the demographic-wise, when you compare us to other countries in the world, our demographics look good. There's one word, it's babies. Harry Dent wrote a book. He said, in 17 and 18, 2017, 2018, house prices will go up. And I'm like, that book was written 10 years ago. How does he know that? Babies. He can say, people that hit 27 years old quit partying, they get married and they have a family, and they buy a little house. He goes, houses, there's a lot of them coming up in 17 and 18. And they did. House prices went boom, boom, boom. And I was like, how did he know that? Babies. When people turn 50, what do? They buy a Harley Davidson. So Harry Dent says Harley sales will go up, and they have at certain times. So my point is this, if your demographics are good, like ours are solid in the US, it's a good thing. When you have all old people on the top, they don't work, and they suck the resources. You need young people coming up. So our demographics look good. Japan's look terrible. There are a bunch of old people on the top, there's nobody at the bottom coming up. It doesn't bode well. China, Russia, I'll go through the whole thing. But just, it's why I think we're still in a good position. And then, not to get political and have stuff thrown at me, but the Maganomics thing, it's an aberration, okay? I think we should have maybe gone off a cliff. I don't think we're going to. So that's my humble opinion. Okay, that's the 2020 part of it, the 2020 vision that I drafted for myself, the next 10 years. Okay, let me talk about the fundamentals and concepts which are why I was drawn, for example, to the non-performing junior lien. Okay, there's 3 pieces to it. A single family house. What was Jack Miller's favorite piece of real estate? A single family house. It's the best collateral on the earth. Land, condos, commercial, all different flavors of other things. When things go bad, and they do sometimes, ask me how I know, people want to be in a nice little house. And it's the most resilient piece of property in the world. So I do exciting things behind the scenes of a single family house. But I am a single family house guy. Now here's a guy out of college. I was the #1 commercial. I sold industrial buildings, industrial land in Orange County for 7 years. I know the game. I'm not afraid of it. When they said single family houses, I was like, I said, houses are for housewives. I'm beyond that. I'm not doing that. All I do now is houses because of Jack Miller and those guys. With an option. It's one of the words that Mike says, I keep saying that option word. Guess what the best option I've ever found was on a single family house? A non-performing junior lien. I got that theory from Jack Miller. I saw these junior liens come by and I said, wait a minute here. That's a non-performing junior lien, an option on a single family house. That's in my bailiwick. The third piece. I have a whole poster on flipping. I don't believe in flipping. I buy and hold. Most investment clubs are full of flippers. They flip, they buy and sell. It sounds nice today, they got a nice payday, they paid the rent. Guess what? There's no long-term plan there. So, single family house, option, and then hold it. I buy good stuff and I never sell it, ever. The notes, I don't sell notes. I buy them. They're too hard to get. Ask Mike. These notes are hard to get. I buy them and I hold them. So, a couple pieces here. One, and once again, at this thing I'm doing, I'm going to go with stuff in detail. And I'm not here to pitch that thing. Believe me, I'm surprised people are coming anyway. But, so, the 2020 vision, my plan for the future. I'm optimistic. I don't see us falling off a cliff, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. How do I do it? What do I do? Single family house, option, buy and hold. That's what I do. All right. Let's talk about the note space. Okay, there's two things I want to talk about. The non-performing junior lien and non-performing notes in general. And I want to have Mike come up towards the end and kind of have a conversation with him. He's one of my favorite people. And the VA foreclosure. So 25 years ago, I took a Carleton Sheets course, same one, right? And I got 2 pages out of it, out of the whole thing. Carleton Sheets was this late night TV guru guy, okay? Get rich overnight, da-da-da. I was like, that sounds good, I'm in. So I sent him my $400, I got his whole manual. There was 2 pages in it, VA foreclosure. Just think if we would have traded notes, I would have had you on the VA foreclosure, and you would have had me on your deal. Exactly, those are the first 2 pages. A VA foreclosure, okay? I bought a lot of VA foreclosures in the 90s, in the 2000s. Obama killed it in 2011. Program was done. It just got brought back 9 months ago. I'm going to talk all about the VA foreclosure program from a note perspective, property and notes going back and forth. What do you call it? The dance between property and paper. It's both, okay? And it's unbelievable. And I've done it forever. In 2008, I was looking around saying, okay, where's the market now? And the thing about this, these groups you get together and you're like, it's hard to be a capitalist. It's hard to enjoy capitalism, as Pete Fortunato says. But what you do is you find these people who are like you, like-minded, who are looking, who are smart, and hang out with them. I went to Jack Miller seminars and hung out in the back row, right where you guys are. And there was Mike Cantu. There was people like Tom Henderson. All these people were right in the back row. We knew each other. We'd heard Jack talk 30 times. We knew what Jack was going to say. We didn't want to get spit on in the front row, so we sat in the back. But it was about finding out what's current now. So in 2008, what happened? There was a mortgage meltdown. I said, okay, how do I get to play? How do I get into the note space, the non-performing note space? There was a gentleman, Dean Angle, out of San Francisco, great guy, and he had these calls. I joined his training deal. And there was these 2 guys from New Jersey who kept piping in about seconds. And I'm like, who are these guys, first of all? I mean, that doesn't sound very cool at all. They must just be these weird dudes. But one of them was Mike. Mike was on this call. So to get my head, to think about buying a first lien, a non-performing first lien. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'll just give you an example. So I would go to the bank and say, yeah, I'm a non-performing lien buyer. And they'd say, really? Oh, yeah, I took a class. I'm all in. How many have you done? We won't talk about that. I haven't done any. So I said, how much is that $100,000 non-performing first lien. And they said, oh, it's 85 cents on the dollar. And I said, really? I said, I've got to pay 85 cents on the dollar for a non-performing, not paying first lien. I've got to deal with the property, with the borrower, with bankruptcy for 85 cents on the dollar. I said, is that an option? Is 85 cents on the dollar an option play? Let me define an option for you. I didn't do that. An option is the right, but not the obligation, for a small amount of consideration, say it again, for a small amount of consideration to close on a deal. I have the right for a small amount of consideration to close on a deal, okay? Is 85 cents on the dollar a small amount of consideration? I was like, okay. I said, so you got these first liens at 85 cents on the dollar. I said, what else do you have? And they go, we have this junk pile. I said, what's that? Oh, these are seconds and thirds. They have like leprosy or something. And I said, okay, well, how much are those? Oh, 5 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents. I said, really? So these junior liens are 5 cents on the dollar. Is that an option? Yes. I said, thank you, Jack Miller. I said, it's a single family house with an option play, because if I screw it up, and I do most of the time, I only lose 5 cents on the dollar, not my whole 85 cents. I said, I can live to fight another day that way. I can survive by losing, and I lose a lot, frankly, on these non-performing junior liens. So here I am in this process, and I hear this guy in New Jersey, and I'm like, all he does is seconds. And one time I asked the guy on the call, I said, can we do a little debate on first versus seconds? I said, I hear these crazy guys, and they're seeming less crazy to me, frankly, because this whole non-performing thing sounds crazy in the first place. But I went out to visit Mike. There was some conference there. By the way, this is not easy. And I went to every distressed debt conference on the planet. I went to every servicer meeting on the planet. I went to anything on the planet, wherever it took. I mean, I was at Wall Street with him, walking around, with these different people, crazy people. But Jack Miller has a great story. I'm going to tell it. It's called Easy, okay? Because this ain't easy, okay? So Jack's 75 years old, and this 25-year-old guy walks up and he says, hey, Jack, I hear you're a legend. I'm 25, you're 75. What would you do if you were me? How would you get started? And Jack says, okay, he says, I wouldn't. And the kid says, Jack, wait a minute. I know you're old, you probably see now. I'm asking you, how would you get started? I need your help. He said, I heard you. You're very clear. He said, I wouldn't do it. He says, it's too hard. He says, here's what you do. He says, get a trailer and get some cigars and get some whiskey and some good music. He says, go sit on the river and just enjoy your life. He says, just find a government program and just relax. But the point is this. Unless you can deal with rocks coming down on your head every day, which is this business. This is not an easy business. And I always want to emphasize this. It's a tough deal. It's not easy. Don't even start. I mean, stay home with your family, watch the TV shows, whatever it is, this is tough. Is it worth it? Yes, but it ain't easy. Understood? All right, that's my Jack Miller start. But, okay. I went to meet Mike, and Mike says, hey, you look kind of Irish. He says, you want to go to every Irish bar in Manhattan? And I said, yeah. So we did. We got about 3 bars in, and he says, okay. He says, tell me your story. I said, okay. I said, well, I bought one non-performing note, first lien. He goes, how'd you do? And I said, well, I paid 80 cents on the dollar. I said, I'm making some money. I'm doing okay. He goes, okay. He says, we would never do that. And I said, you wouldn't do what? We wouldn't buy a first lien. I said, okay. What do you do? And he says, we buy non-performing junior liens. And I'm like, okay. I said, I need about 6 more beers. And I got them. And in the morning, I had a hangover and a brand new vision. Because once again, it's an option play, which is what I do. So, do you remember that story, Mike? It was too many beers. Yeah. The non-performing junior lien is the best business on the planet. And I use it, we're all different. You know, and when you guys get going on this thing, you're gonna do different things. Don does different things, Mike does different things. We're in the same business and we still do it differently. I foreclose from second position rarely and take the property. I do it for income. I get payoffs, I get short sales. All different flavors of the non-performing note business, which is unbelievable. It's by far, so would you like to talk about that or would you like to talk about the VA foreclosure business or also? Okay. Are there any non-performing junior lien buyers in the room? Okay, I heard you talk. Okay, okay. All right, I noticed that, yeah, okay. All right. All right. Let me break down, in general, the way I look at a non-performing junior lien. A $100,000 note that I can buy for 30 cents, as Mike said, okay? Guess what else there is in that deal? There's about $20,000 in arrears, okay? So $120,000, I paid 30 for it, okay? Depending on the note, depending on the different flavors of it, and I can go into different iterations of, you know, equity, non-equity, bankruptcy, all different flavors of good and bad, the good and the bad and the ugly. But if you've got, here's the way I say it. The junior liens that I bought are on good properties. I don't buy them on the junky stuff. It's somebody's home. It's not a house, it's a home. And there's a concept called emotional equity, which I think I stole from Mike. It's their home. So as opposed to a non-performing first lien where you exit through the property, a junior lien, you exit through the borrower. So in your research, which Mike is an expert at, you're looking at the borrower and saying, okay, what is their credit? Where do they spend their money? Oh, Home Depot, $100 every month. Home Depot, maybe they're buying roses for the front yard or something. Okay, what do? Are they in jail? I mean, you get a feel for them because the normal workout is this. I bought your $100,000 non-performing junior lien for 30 grand. I go to the borrower and I say, you know what? I am not a vulture. I'm really not. I'm actually a human being, and this is a good day for you because I want to find out what works for you. If $300 a month works for you, and that's kind of a good number, that's a good number. So $300 a month, and then that goes on for 30 years, and then eventually what happens is they refi, they sell the property, and I get paid the whole 120. Maybe not right away, but that's happened a lot. So you're thinking, okay, a 30 grand or less, you know, option play on a non-performing junior lien it's phenomenal on lots of levels. All right. Also, getting the property. Who knows what subject to means? Everybody does, right? The best way to get something subject to is to foreclose from junior lien position. Legally and every other way. So Mike just sold me a note in, I think, January on a property in Visalia. Nice house. I said, somebody would like to own this house. It is owned by a guy who basically has what I call a loser loan, okay? Which means that if you don't make your payments on time, the bank will come to you and say, hey, I see you're having trouble. Why don't we make your 30-year loan 40 years and take the interest rate from 4% to 2%? I'm like, whoa, why don't I get those? I was like, you're not a loser. Okay, that doesn't sound right, but it is what it is. So how do I become that guy? How do I become that? I buy the junior lien and I foreclose. Now I own that beautiful Visalia home, subject to that loan, which the rate, so it rents for $1,800. The payment is $1,523.32. How do I know that? Because I make it every month. So there's a little spread right there. It's on a beautiful home. I didn't have to apply for the loan. It's in his name. So he did not want the house. He said, hey, you know, my kids are gone. I'm done. He says, I'm out of here. I said, okay, fine. Be out of here. I foreclosed. So different angles. I mean, I think Mike is more focused on cash flow, which I am too, but also property acquisition on this junior lien deal. Did I lose everybody there? No. Okay. The sub 2 angle on the loser loans, that's what I call them, is there's nothing like it, in my opinion. Okay. Are there any questions, like from my perspective, On the non-performing junior lien. Anything? Go ahead.
Have you ever taken a loan subject to it and the bank foreclosed?
I have not. Had it called? No. Not saying it doesn't happen. Have I heard of it happening? Yes. Am I afraid of it? No. I tell people, I say this is a business where I get engineers sometimes, and they're like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And I said, you kind of just got to roll with this thing. And it might happen. But it rarely does. And those people, frankly, won't do it.
I've
What's-
never heard of anyone where they were making mortgage payments
Okay.
in someone else's contract for a mortgage.
What
And
if,
the bank saying, oh, we're calling this loan because of the transfer. I've never heard of that. Right.
what if you had 10 properties and the loans were not in your name? So say they're $300,000 houses with $300,000 loans that aren't in your name. And so you have what, say $2 million in equity, and the debt is not in your name. If the world goes to heck, you just don't make the payments anymore. I mean, your balance sheet looks pretty good. You agree? Yeah. It's unbelievable. I mean,
That's an option to purchase. That's a true option to purchase.
it is. It is.
You can walk away.
Let's talk about getting the notes. And you kind of mentioned, Mike mentioned a couple times, he pointed to me and said, he sells me notes, and he does. And what I've seen is they're tougher to get in general, and the hedge funds that I was buying from, I frankly never liked any of them, and they've gotten tougher. It's a tough market. So the things that Mike is talking about as far as, I talked about the pool loan, like going to the bank and saying, hey, do you make pool loans? Yeah. How many did you make last year? 30. And how many are working? All of them. Ah, come on, really? Oh, there's a couple that aren't working. What do you do with those? We don't talk about them. Well, if you did, I could take them off your hands. So there's different angles now. Mike's out there, he hunts for banks. Another play, which I love, is the auction. I'll call people and say, did you realize that next week your junior lien is being foreclosed on? And they're like, yeah, I am. I'm aware of that. So your $100,000 junior lien will get wiped out. You'll have nothing. We might take that off your hands for $3,000 or write you a check today. Why would you do that? Because we're crazy. What I would do is take that loan, cure the first. See, people don't realize junior liens have all the power. I learned that. I did not realize that because I can stop the first from foreclosing. People say, well, the biggest exposure is the first forecloses and wipes you out. Only if I let it. And sometimes I do let it. There's no equity, whatever it is. So my point is this. At the dinner table, the little brother tends to get the scraps. Everybody else is finished. He eats what's left over. You would think, well, a junior lien is a junior position. It's a small. You're weak. Mm-mm. And nobody understands this. These big bank guys, attorneys, everybody, you say, I'm going to foreclose. And they're like, dude, you're the junior lien guy. And I said, exactly, I'm going to foreclose. And they say, you can't do that. I say, watch me. I've done it 20 times. And they're like, no, you can't do that. I say, is it illegal? And they go, no, but why would you do it? And I said, because I'm smarter than you. So, it's
You pay off the first, you foreclose, you pay off the first.
It's one option. I could pay it off, or I could delay it, or I could bring it current. So, yeah, short pay. Like that's the first is in a bad position. You call them and say, yeah. They'll say, I'll give you half for your note.Hy would you do that? Well, you're going to have nothing. How's half sound? Good. So there's angles, and this is kind of the 3D, the complicated part. But go ahead.
Short payoff. So it's a $200,000 first. You pay off $100,000. Well, yeah. So in Joel's, coming back to poor Joel. Poor Joel Jansen. Joel, did you in our deal? Did you short first as well as short me?
No, I brought a current and made payments.
You knew that you could short that first.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into it.
But I'm saying the opportunity is there to answer his question. Is he could have negotiated that first for, was it 130?
No, it was a 250.
Okay, so 250, you could have got it down to 220, put 30 more in your pocket. Had you gone through the negotiation with the same process as me, show me a bunch of really bad pictures, tell me a really bad story about a really bad borrower and a real bad situation, and they would have said, oh, poor Joel, we'll go and we will accept a short payoff of
have a question, just to kind of follow up. When you talk about shorting the sale and negotiating that first down, what kind of time frame does that add to the closing? I know it's dependent on the lender, but is there like, this may add another 2 weeks to delay while you're, you know,
6
fussing around
months.
with it? What's that?
Could be 6 months.
Wow, okay, see, I'm busy, wow. And that's, yeah, I see, okay.
Not to, not
No,
to
go right ahead, go right ahead.
show. So, I lost my train of thought.
The short sale.
Yeah, so, when you're negotiating a short sale, even more powerful, to Gordon's point, is let's say the first is foreclosing. A guy like Joel comes in, exactly what happened, and works with the homeowner and says, let's just hurry up and get this thing sold. Puts a sign in the dirt, never calls me. I'm on title. And the first is foreclosing, but it's gonna take a while, and he's trying to get this property sold, and the debt is on the first at $250, and they owe me another $40. So he's trying to sell the house at $260, and he's gonna make $10 grand. Calls me up and says, hey, we're gonna give you $500. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, that's fine, but I'm not gonna accept that. So I'm on title, I blow him off, and now he's trying to close this short sale. Has to have our blessing as a lien holder, or nobody gets paid. Joel doesn't get paid, the first doesn't get paid, the brokers, the real estate brokers don't get paid, the title company doesn't get paid, because this jerk over here just says, you know what, I'm not getting my money, nobody's getting my money. And Joel says, well, the first is foreclosing. I'm like, let him. Cost me $3 grand. So it's amazing, all of a sudden, the realtor's like, I'll kick in $2 grand. I'll kick in $2 grand.
Yeah.
The title says, I'll do the title for $500. First mortgage even says, you know what, we'll short it another $5. Offer that second mortgage $10 grand.
Right.
I'm controlling this thing for $3,000 investment.
Yeah.
So
It's an option.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And you got to, I mean, Mike will call me. I'll see the phone light up, Mike Rusica. I'm like, we have these calls like an hour, and it's so much fun. You'll see how much we just can't believe that it's just like, this must be illegal or something. No, it's not illegal. And it's like, wow. And there's so many different angles. I get bored too. I get, you know, the same old thing. I don't flip houses. I don't do construction work, any of that stuff. This, you can be so creative. Every deal is different. You think, well, it was a $100,000 note, $20,000 you bought it, $100,000 note. Totally different. We know that too. I mean, we'll get a pool of loans and we'll say, well, that one looks pretty good, and that one doesn't look so good. And you end up saying, you know what, I was totally wrong. That was the hardest one, and that was the easiest one. It's like, it's a puzzle, and it's all creative stuff. We love talking about it. I'm gonna bring him up here in a minute. We're gonna go back and forth, but we have the greatest conversations. But let me add a couple more things. Bidding, okay? I used to bid, okay, on notes. I don't bid anymore. I've had enough practice. People will call me and say, yeah, we're selling this pool of notes from these hedge funds, whatever. Okay, bids are due on Friday. And I said, well, I won't have one. And they're like, well, what's your deal? And I said, well, I do what I say. I've got everything you need. I've got the money, and I will do what I say. I'm that guy. So if you come back to me and say, Gordon, for 1 day or 3 days, these are your notes. Just close, do what you say, wire us the money, sign the forms, you're in. Those are the guys I deal with. Mike's one of them. So, this whole thing about, in the beginning, it's hard. I get that. There's these joker broker types on the internet selling notes, and they want you to bid. And frankly, bidding is good in the beginning because you need to learn. You need to go look at 1,000 notes and get half as good as he is in doing the analysis. But that's one point I wanted to make about bidding and the hedge funds. The hedge funds are treacherous. You know that movie Wolf of Wall Street, where these guys are doing cocaine and drinking and whatever else they're doing all the time? It's true. These guys are insane. And the morals, in my opinion, are kind of there too. So, they look at you and say, you know what, I can kind of smell this one's a new one. We're going to work him. And they have no regret. They have no, they got screwed when they got started. That's kind of your rite of passage. So, is that true? So, here's what I say. Buy from somebody you can call back later, because you're going to need to. True? Yeah. That's one of the hard, people get chewed up early in that one. Don't get all enthusiastic and say, oh, I got this all figured out. study it, study it, study it. Do some paralysis of analysis. About the bidding, I forget what I was trying to talk about. Okay, oh yeah, okay, okay. So before I was the VA foreclosure guy, the non-performing junior lien guy, I was the VA foreclosure guy. Because of my Carlton Sheets course, I tried all the things he said, and none of them worked. But this one did. Okay, here's the story. A veteran. When a veteran buys a home, how much does he put down? Who guarantees the loan? The VA, the Veterans Administration. That's exactly right. When things in life go sideways, like, I don't know, he gets transferred or loses his job, whatever, and he loses the home, who is guaranteed the loan? The VA. So guess what they do with those foreclosed on homes? They put them on a website and they sell them to investors. Okay? Guess how many you can get as an investor? All you want. Ask me how I know. I tried it. I bought one, then I bought 4, and I said, oh, that must be enough. Nope. Then I bought 10, and I said, well, that must be enough. Must be a limit. Nope. I kept going. I bought a lot of VA foreclosures. Let me tell you why. Was I after the house? Now, I like houses. You know that already. And I buy the right kind of houses. And my sister moved to Las Vegas when I was young. So I said, I'm going to go out there. My brother was there. My parents are there now. I bought them in Las Vegas. So I look at the list, and there's a Vegas one. Okay. And I'd buy them in Las Vegas. I bought a lot of them. But did I really want the house? I wanted the house. But what I really wanted was the financing. Okay? The financing to an investor. Let me explain it to you. How much down do you have to put on a VA foreclosure as an investor? An investor. 5%. Guess what the interest rate is? 4% to an investor. Okay? The loan is assumable, and you can get all you want to. So I said to myself, I have a website, realestateandnoteinvesting.com, because I'm a real estate guy. Hold property forever. Notes I use for income, for cash flow. So there's forever properties. All the rich old guys that I know, like the Jack Millers, owned a lot of property. They also did notes for cash flow. So I do property and notes. So I said, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of these. I did, VA foreclosures, and let the tenant pay them off for me, which they have. I really appreciate that, tenant. Thank you very much. But I turned it into a note deal. I said, if they're going to charge me 4%, how much would a contractor pay in interest that can't get a loan? Would he pay double that? Yeah. If I paid 5% down for a down payment, would he pay maybe 20% down? Yeah. If I put that in the paper, it said, owner will finance at 8%, 20% down, single family house. Would my phone ring off the hook? It would, and it has. So my point is this, the VA foreclosure game, I bought a lot of VA foreclosures as property. I learned to manage, that's key. Buy good properties, learn to manage them, never sell them. And you can buy them at top of the market, like I did, and look smart 20 years later, okay? Because I wasn't that smart buying them. I paid retail, but I got the financing. That's the financing. You can also turn around and say, let's turn this into a note game. Let's make an income off of this. If I'm paying $1,500 every month, and this guy wants to pay me $2,300 at 8%, double my interest, that's a note play. And guess how many you can do? Something's wrong with that, isn't it? Yeah, that shouldn't be that way. So in the whole Carlton Sheets world, I learned the VA foreclosure game. And it's back. It disappeared. Let me tell you the Wendy story. Okay. How much time do I have? I got not enough time. Okay. Wendy, good friend of mine, girlfriend, from 03, for about 8 years. Okay. Wendy was a vice president at Countrywide. Ever heard that name? Okay. Now, Wendy's a great person. Don't get me wrong. Wendy is a great person. And I would ask her, I would say, it's 03, 04, 05. I said, so how, she's the one that kind of did the oversight of these loan deals. And I was like, so the guy works at McDonald's, but he makes 150 grand a year. It says it right there. And he's going to qualify for this loan. And I said, you know he doesn't make that kind of money. What do you think of this thing? She goes, oh, it'll all take care of itself. Properties always go up. And I said, not in my experience. So in 07, when everything flipped, wasn't good. But Wendy watched me during 03, 04, 05, 06. And in 2011, she timed it better than I did. She bought 5 VA foreclosures in Las Vegas because she said, how are you doing this? You can only buy one, right? And I said, no, I bought 35. And she said, really? You shouldn't be able to do that. The loan criteria shouldn't let you. I'm an expert. I'll tell you that. I'm an expert. I'm like, you're the one doing these bad loans. Okay. But Wendy, in 2011, put $100,000 out to buy 5 properties because it was 5% down, plus some closing costs, plus some fix-up. She had 5 rentals, still does, in Las Vegas. Those are worth 300 grand a piece now. Wendy's a millionaire. After putting 100 grand in 2011, it's worth $1 million now, and she's got cash flow. So there's an example of somebody. Now in 2012, VA foreclosures were done. The program disappeared. Obama didn't like the fact that you could make money doing that. Didn't seem right. So, but it just came back. It just last year. I was just shocked. I wrote an article that says it's back. I was stunned. Now, am I hustling out there to go find these things? Not really. I'm kind of too old and too lazy now. But it's a great angle. So the VA foreclosure. Are there any questions on that? Go ahead.
What platform are you writing this off of? Or Word?
Yeah. So it's
It's VRM.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, I'm at the website right now, so if you go to listings.vrmco.com, it'll take you to the homepage, you pick the state, and then you want to make sure that when you pick the state, you click on the little box that says financing available.
no. It says Vendy financing.
Vendy financing available, and then that's the one, the
Yep.
product.
You say 1 bedroom, 1 bath or more. Vendy financing. Because are we after the house? Sort of. We're after the financing.
So I have website of listings with an S dot Victor Romeo Mary Charlie Oscar.com.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
So when you buy these, are you buying them subject to the
Nope.
previous person's financing?
They create a brand new loan for you.
You
You,
get approved, you have to-
so there's a facility in Irvine. They just set it up that you have to call them. It's on the website. And you say, hi, I heard about this crazy guy talking about VA foreclosures. I'd like to apply for one. And you'll have to go through an application process. And I'll tell you what, let me do a quick thing because let me show you how it goes, okay? I'm going to tell you a story, okay? So now you're pre-qualified. You called the Irvine office, you got pre-qualified. You got a letter, right? It says, I'm pre-qualified. That's the way to do it, right? Okay. So you see a property, what state are you interested in?
Arizona.
So there's one in Arizona pops up, and Joe Smith, broker, has the thing on it. So you call Joe Smith. You say, hey, Joe, I just got pre-qualified for the VA financing. And Joe will say, Joe's the listing broker on a VA foreclosure, right? You would think he knows what he's talking about, right? Yeah. So he says, oh, are you a veteran? And you go, no. You go, well, why are you calling me? This is a VA deal. You're like, okay, well, no, Joe, let me explain it to you. This crazy guy told me that I don't have to be a veteran. And so this is real. Yeah. And so this is because people say, oh, I tried that twice. It didn't work out. So let me show you how it goes, okay? So you say, Joe, okay, let me just be clear. Just be calm. I've got a letter right here. I'm pre-qualified for the VA Vendy program. I know you don't know anything about that. It's a $200,000 house. Joe, you're the broker. All offers come through you, correct? Yeah. Okay. Well, how many offers do you have right now? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, if you could tell me that, how many are there? Because, Joe, I can see you're a sharp young man, and I'd like to see you get both sides of this commission, maybe. I'm not a broker. I don't have a broker with me. I'd like to see you get paid. And let me ask you, how much is the property? It's $200,000. So guess what? Historically, this crazy guy says he's bid more than the asking price. And Joe would say, you know, I've been in real estate for almost 6 months now, and it seems to me that you want to buy things at a discount. You're an investor, right? And you're smart. You say, yeah, but I'm not that smart, and I want to buy the property. So, and then Joe comes back and says, well, there's 3 offers. I'll just tell you. Okay, Joe, what would it take for me to get the deal? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. We already have. What would it take to get the deal? Well, got an offer already for 202 and one for 203, and I think one's coming in today for 204, which you shouldn't be telling you. And you say, well, here's the deal, Joe. I'm willing to pay 205 if we can get this thing done right now. Why would you do that? I'm not that smart. Because once again, you're looking to get the financing. That property will pay for itself. I paid almost over the asking price every time. And I paid more than it was worth. I paid $5,000 more, but I held it for 20 years, and it helped my taxes. I used to work at AT&T, okay? We all made $100,000, and I would ask my friend, I say, how much did you actually take home after taxes? 65. Guess how much I took home? They said, I don't know, what are you, doing something illegal? I said, no, it's totally legal. I said, I own 10 houses, so I took home 95,000 because I have all these write-offs. And guess what I did with the other $20,000 that I kept? I bought more houses. I went like this, and now I'm talking to you. My buddies are still at AT&T, making 65,000. My point is that get the deal is the name of that story. Get the deal and pay more. It's about financing. Jack Miller, they taught me about, it's not about the property. You want to buy a good property. If you buy a good property, you'll get a good tenant. If you buy a crummy property, you'll get a crummy tenant to go with it, and your hair will turn gray. You don't want that. So, does that make sense? Okay.
Are you doing a wrap?
Nope.
No, you're buying them from the VA, that I understand, but then you're turning around and getting owner financing.
Yeah.
So then,
So you could do that 8 different ways. You could do a lease option. You could do a wrap. Check this out. The loan is assumable too, believe it or not. Yeah. So are they going to call that loan?
no.
They might. I don't think so. Is it worth the risk?
Yeah.
Probably. So does that make sense? I cut you off.
Is it always 5% down, or 5% down or 4%?
So 25 years, it's always been 5% down. And I was a broker. They also paid a brokerage fee, which was nice. I paid up to 8% in the old days. Now it was 4.5% like 8 months ago. I think it's 4 now.
Yeah.
Might be 3.5. Do you see it on there? Is it 3.5?
But it doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure it's at 4%, and actually, it's trending downward, if I'm not mistaken.
And what's a house's job?
To pay for itself.
And with the low financing, can it do that?
Absolutely.
And so if a house never went up, it actually went down, after 30 years, what's happened?
You still gonna get,
You own it free and clear.
that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a long-term strategy. Got all the tax advantages. Go ahead.
So I've been on that. I actually found out through a short seller back in June or May that she pointed me to vending. And when I saw your email blast, I was like, my eye was like light bulb. I've been tracking your website for all summer pretty much. And what I did notice is that I know it's not about buying the sexy properties, because if you're looking for sexy properties, that is not the site. The sexy locations, there's Los Angeles, San Francisco,
No.
New York. You're not going to find it, but you're going to find it in areas that are,
Military.
yeah, exactly. And what you have is a lot of opportunity, more states than others, but you have a tremendous amount of opportunity there. And it, just like Gordon said, it is about the financing. But we're like actually right before your email blast, we were just kind of getting situated on landing on several of those properties, that we're looking at. We're starting at one, and that's how I know about that interest rate trending downward. But that 4% sounds right.
Yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, now, do you have to qualify?
Yes.
You have to qualify.
Yep.
So you pre-qualify, and that's the letter you're talking about. Okay, got it.
And like, if it was me, I don't go to banks and bend down anymore. I don't do that, right? So I could get a civilian to come with me and have them qualify and partner with them. People say, I don't want to qualify. Jack Miller told me never to go to a bank again. What are you telling me? I said, well, I went to the bank and I made a small fortune by holding these properties for 20 years. I did qualify. I suffered through it. But if you don't want to, get a civilian to go with you, somebody with a job, and say, partner with them. So I'm opposed to the qualifying deal, believe me. I'm tired of some clerks saying, oh, it's your paperwork and da-da-da, your income isn't right, and da-da-da. So, which is why I love this junior lien business so much, because I get to twist the banks now. I love doing that.
I like that idea too. These are all cash flowing for you. I mean, not huge amounts of money, but you're making your money over time with the financing. But they're cash flowing or breaking even. And you put in your 10% vacancy rate and all that stuff to make sure it's going to flow.
Yeah, I had some I suffered through, but there was a little bit of negative.
Okay.
But once again, the house's job is to pay for itself.
Right.
And at these interest rates, the opportunity is there. People say prices are too high. Interest rates aren't. If your goal is to hold things for a long time, because you're not a flipper, you're a buy and hold person like me. So, did I miss anybody's question? I didn't want to be rude. Some people raise their hand and then put it down. Anybody?
In the old program, you had to be a seasoned investor. To
2
buy a
years.
second. I thought it was the second property. I mean.
Okay. So Yeah, what you would do
In
is,
the first year, they only let you buy.
So you
Now
buy
they
one.
have it on your taxes for a
Yep.
year, and then
no.
they
So
give the green light.
in the old days, they would say, okay, Gordon, you're gonna buy one? Yeah, I bought one. Now I've got an empty house, right? And I got a $1,000 a month payment on it. So my cash flow just went to heck. I can't qualify anymore. And once I get it rented, I'm all good again. It took me a month to get it rented. I did them, I don't know, I haven't gone to the new program yet, and I'm not going to. But in the old days, once you rented this house, good to go again. Especially if it wasn't a negative deal, and it never was, a little bit sometimes, but does that make sense?
I thought that it had to be on at least one tax return.
I never encountered that, so maybe it has changed. I don't know. Yes?
Do they let you hold it in a land trust or in an LLC, or do they care?
They probably care, and I would just take it and then move it there later. There's always an angle.
And you never had to get approval from the lender?
They will tell you, I called them Friday,
Good for you.
and the interest rate as of Friday was 3.5.
Listen to that.
And I asked that question because I wanted to put it in my IRA,
Yeah.
and they would not allow me to do it. It had to go into my name.
Yep.
Now, when you get pre-qualified, it's for 90 days, and then you have to get re-qualified. They'll send you a link to a website that will tell you, you basically hand in all your financials. They just want to know that you can make the monthly mortgage payment. They don't say how much.
So was it torturous, or was it that bad?
You know, especially when you have an IRA, you've got money in there in investments, it just makes it look better. But they won't let you. You're going upside the box with these people. 'Cause
Yeah,
when
they're
I
very-
asked about it, they said, "Well, we'll have to give it to the supervisor in California and find out if we can do this." Then they called. They were nice. He called me back, said, "No, you can't do it." He said, "But I'd like to work with you because I'm licensed in 14 states." So that's what I found out on that.
Thank you for that. 3.5%.
Do you have any dues? I mean, this is gonna sound like a stupid question. I'm not a landlord, and that's not my area of expertise, although I have been in the past.
Become one.
Yeah, right, that's exactly right. Is there specific criteria that you, or anyone here can recommend? Obviously, you wanna make sure that you have your cash flowing on one of these types of properties as much as possible, and there will be times where it'll sit empty. Is there something where you say, hey, look for this, this, and this, and that should be a good, criteria to follow?
On the house you're looking at.
On the house,
Yeah.
to make sure that it cash
Okay.
flows
You need to become good at that. I mean, this is just one angle. This is what I call the done for you method.
Right.
I mean, it's easy. Even I could do it. So, because what they told me was, they said, go knock doors in the neighborhood. I tried that 3 times, and I was like, I don't like people. So, this is not going to work for me. This did, okay? I didn't have to talk to anybody, okay? So, but Dave Tilney teaches a course on property management. He was one of the Jack Miller guys. You've taken Dave Tilney's course.
Every landlord should take.
Every landlord, you need to become a landlord. I know it sounds repulsive, but I manage my manager. I don't manage the property. I don't know any of my tenants' name. I don't know anything about them. I don't want to. It's why I've been able to survive so long. And the trick is to survive for 20 years without going out of your mind, by buying a bad house with a bad tenant, or doing a bad job in the property management, or breaking the law or something. You were discriminated, whatever you did. So you want to find a good property manager, know how to manage them. Dave Tilney has the course. Jack Miller taught him everything he knows, and he's the man. So I would recommend becoming a landlord, because the rich old guys I know are not note guys, they're property guys. They've held it forever. So let me say this too. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is my sweet spot. About 1,500 square feet. 2-story? No. When you get old, going upstairs is a hassle. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a nice neighborhood is the sweet spot in the marketplace. And right, there's a whole pyramid, right? There's the top guys on top, all the rich guys. You don't want their house. You don't want the ghetto houses on the bottom. Right about in the middle. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, regular house. It's got growth. It's got jobs. It's all, you'd want to live there. You'd say, I would live in that house. Not my number one thing, but I would live there. Good schools. What you want is ma and pa, kid, and a dog. And they're happy there. And they stay for 10 years. That's what you want. Turnover is not good for a landlord.
Economics come into play, like for instance, I'm on Bendy right now. There's one, north of Inland Empire in. I'll give you an example here, just the real world example.
I know that area.
We have one in Running Springs, California, which is in Forest Mountainous region, right above Inland Empire in Southern California. I don't know much about this area, but
I'd be careful of that.
yeah. So that's then we have another one in Sacramento, major metro area, that's the one that,
Yeah, you should get good at doing the whole AVM thing. Google it, and just kind of look around. Look at Zillow. Are the schools a 2 or are they a 10?
Yeah.
Big difference. Okay, schools will tell you a ton right there. Good people will not move into a crummy so their kids get molested at school. It ain't gonna happen. So, okay, yes.
I keep three signs in my garage, okay, and you go on that website and you find areas you like of the house. Okay, I will pay somebody $25 to allow me owner financing on a sign of their lawn, not their property. So that people call me, I now have a buyer's list. So for $100, you can have 4 or 5 signs around. You just you tell people, for a month, I'll give you $25. I go, sure, fine. Your house isn't for sale. And then, as she says, the phone will ring off the hook, and you now got a buyer's list, and you can send them to a website and have them register. And then when you get one of these, you just send out an email. I have this for the next 48 hours. All parties interested? Because people will give you more than 20% down.
Having said that, let me just say this too. The smart guys that I know, John Schaub, Jack Fullerton, they can ride their bicycle to their homes that they have. They're not one in Texas, one in Idaho, and one in Florida. No. Because 3 different management companies, they can smell you're not in town. Their cousin might live there for all you know, or he's doing the work for double the price. There's a million different ways they can get you. You won't even know about it. So be careful of that. So how are you going to buy, VAs in 20, within bicycle distance? You're not going to do it. But it's just one angle of the market right now. 3.5% interest rates on single-family houses. I buy them in Vegas. I don't live in Vegas. So you can do it. But I'd pick one area. Like I know Vegas. I know that the Raiders are building a new stadium there, and it's good for sports pig heaven, Vegas. It's changing. I know the market. If you ask me about Running Springs, I have no clue. It sounds scary, but I don't know. But so my point is, it is good to walk a neighborhood and know everything that's going on and get better at this game. I'm going to talk about Mike Cantu, who's my idol, who I'm amazed you heard that. It's always, you never know when you say something who's going to pick it up. But I made a whole piece on him because he did exactly what Jack and Pete and John taught for 20 years better than anybody. And it's his one little neighborhood. His goal was to have 20 free and clear A houses. He dealt with C houses, crummy houses, for wholesaling. He made fees, he moved the financing, amazing story. But the trick is, single family houses, in my opinion, good ones, and hold them for 20 years. And then even as dumb as I can be, I look good at the end of the day, 20 years later.
They'll give you a 15-year or a 30-year amortization.
And what would you take? Why? You can pay off a 30-year loan in 15 years if you want to.
Yeah, I know.
But you want the option to do the longer one. That's the key. You want the lower payment so the house will pay for itself. That's a key point. I get junior lien buyers calling me, and they say, "What's the terms, Gordon?" And I said, "Well, it's a 20-year note." They go, "20 years? I'm 58 right now. I want to pay this thing off in 5. They don't realize that's better for them to have the longer loan. They can always pay it off early. That's a key point right there. If they gave me a 100-year loan, I would take it. Am I going to be here in 100 years? Probably not. But how long does it take to pay off a 100-year loan? 1 second. You write a check and pay it off. Think about that. If you gave me a deal and said, "Gordon, I'll sell you this $1 million property," I'd say, "Okay, well, it's only worth 800. We both know that. But I'll tell you what, I'll pay it on my terms." "Oh, what are your terms?" $1 a month for 1,000 years. I can make money on that deal. I can rent your property out or something. So it's price or terms. Terms are more important, is why we're getting the VA Vendee financing. The longer the loan, the better. That make sense? That one took me a long time to figure that one out.
Didn't Jack Miller always preach stay within 10% of the median?
Yes, exactly. Say that again.
Always stay within 10% of the median home value.
Okay, so if the median value is 300 grand, you're 250 to 350, something like that. That's the sweet spot, right? Otherwise, the thin air up here, the $1 million houses, no. And then the ghettos seem like, everyone gets sucked into that one too. I've got a whole piece in my thing I call it ghetto hoods. Don't buy in the ghetto hoods. It looks good. The cash flow looks 3 times better. Don't do it. Don't do it. Buy the middle. You will regret it if you buy these ghetto hoods. Guess who moves into ghetto properties? Exciting people. Even on a note. You say, oh, it's a note deal. I'm not really a landlord. Watch. Watch. These note pools that we get, all these list of loans, they're in Cleveland and Detroit. And there's a million exciting places in every town in America, unfortunately. And you don't want any part of it. You don't know what you don't know, but it ain't good. Every city. So watch out for those deals that look too good. Stay in an area where you know it. Get to know the area. Get to know a real estate club. If there isn't a club, make one. And get to know everybody. And get to know the realtors. Be an expert in this area. So when I call you and I'll say, I got a house for sale, 200 grand. You know. Running Springs, you know it's a good area or it's not. Or it's in your sweet spot. Or you say, you know, it's worth 170, Gordon. You know that right now. Or there's a new power plant they're building down the street. You know that, which could be good or bad. So you got to know these things if you're going to hold it for 20 years. And that's what you want to do, in my opinion. Was there anything else about the VA foreclosure or the junior lien thing or anything? Because I wanted to get Mike up here. We have so much fun just talking to each other. He's one of my favorite people. Go ahead.
Really quick, where'd you say you get qualified for the VA loans?
So if you go to the website,
So the website's right there on the whiteboard, listings.vrmco.com.
And they'll send you a personalized email with all the forms that you have to fill out.
Awesome.